Hello, and thank you for joining me here. This is one of a series of video presentations where I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about the books that are available on the Centre for Human Awakening website. If you go to the books link there, you can find out how to obtain any of these books that we're going to highlight here in this series of video blogs. And the one I'd like to talk about just now with you is this one. It's called The Book of Being. The full title is The Book of Being, a Spiritual Handbook for Life's Journey. And I wrote this, or at least it was released in 1998. Seems like a long time now. It will be coming up 20 years. And it rather initiated me into putting down thoughts and understandings about psychospirituality into print, although it's a very short book, really of aphorisms. It revolves around 10 points for guidance in spiritual life and the life of awareness and wisdom. And it came from some, I don't remember now, I think sort of 25 years or so of practice as a therapist, as a teacher in the field. And when I look back, although it's short and the writing isn't flowery, it's not full of examples, I find it very direct. And it's an odd thing that in all innocence and simplicity, things can in some ways be better than you ever thought they might become as you learnt to write better or introduce a host of examples and embellish things. So I have a fondness for this, and I know many other people do have a fondness for the directness and the simplicity of the Book of Being. I could read so many different parts of it to you. The parts themselves are named simply. The first section is honesty, knowledge of death, awareness, the ability to reflect, curiosity and openness, knowledge of powerlessness, practicing power, ability to be alone, experience of interconnectedness, finally wise friends. Some years after the initial publication of the Book of Being, I updated it with some further thoughts which are kind of appended paragraphs to the aphorisms that the book is made up of. And that bulked the book out a little bit more and hopefully made things clearer. I'd like to read you just now the introduction that I wrote to the revised version of the Book of Being, which is the one that's available on the website in 2010. So I read now from the introduction to you. Has this art of turning on one's light been lost? Poor reps. A therapy client said to me the other day, I keep hearing you say the same things, but I find it really difficult to remember them. And I replied, yes, I know. I couldn't remember them once either. This little book was a starting point for me. It was the first time I not only acknowledged that I remembered, but I found the courage to record what I remembered. I have some knowledge of study in other fields, and difficult though they may be, I don't know any other field, other than the psycho-spiritual, that can make you feel so utterly inadequate. Sometimes years into our inner journey, we look inside and realize that we have absolutely nothing to show for all our work. This, of course, is both the curse and the blessing. As I look back on the Book of Being, I feel the courage it took to write in the lucidity of an earlier time, a less self-conscious one, the exhilaration of new insights. My inspiration and reference point was the Tao Te Ching. Long and impenetrable spiritual text for me, this book somehow always gave me renewal and meaning. So I attempted to emulate the style of Lao Tzu, while definitely not aspiring to the depth. But I think it worked out well anyway. Here you can read about the basics of the inner journey, with some useful pointers and no superfluous information, examples or illustrative material. Some may say this is a drawback, but if you take the book a little at a time, as a starting point for contemplation or meditation, I think it will reward the effort. For this reinvention of the Book of Being as an e-book, I couldn't resist adding additional comments. I thought at first to rewrite, but I am too fond of the book as it stands, so I have decided to follow the time-tested and illustrious example of the Zen masters. If, for example, you take a look at Paul Rep's classic of spiritual literature, Zen Flesh, Zen Bones, you will see that in his transcription, with Nyogen Sensaki of the Gateless Gate, the original stories or koans are followed by the additional comments of Zen Master Mumon. His irreverent remarks ridicule, deride and mock the koans to compel, clarify and wring the truth out of them. Mumon recognizes no sacred cows. Nothing is exempt from criticism, interference or objection. Mumon is not attached, and he exhibits his non-attachment without reticence or reserve. Non-attachment is the key to personal freedom, because the conditioned personality is bounded by limitation and the delusion of self-imposed restriction. This personal viewpoint is entirely at odds with the unbounded state of transcendent liberation that many have experienced, but few choose to devote their life to. When we do make that choice, we enter a stream of illumination and freedom, truth and bliss, which the ancient rishis knew, that Kabir and Rumi knew, that St. John of the Cross and Patanjali knew. The way is hazardous, the ordeal can be long, the price is everything, but we receive much more. Help, guidance and directions for the journey are numerous in the form of spiritual maps, parables, teaching stories, koans, dictums and aphorisms, which are all too often made obscure by anachronistic, geographical, cultural and unfamiliar references, connotations, denotations. In the Book of Being, I tried to get beneath any of these restrictions and partialness and present a strategy for living, a guide, passages of meditations, insights, pointers to truth, inspiration, simplicity and spiritual wisdom. A spiritual handbook for life's journey that anyone who was motivated could understand and use as a means to contemplation and as a map to the eternal. Book of Being. Look it up in the books link on Centre for Human Awakening website. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of these short video presentations on the several other books that are featured there.